Catherine McPhee with our national anthem. When we come back, Pam Oliver will visit with Donald Driver before the kickoff. Lions Packers today on Fox. It's before kickoff. Brett Favre with a hug for his most reliable receiver, Donald Driver, who's standing by with Pam Oliver.
Thanks a lot, Joe. Happy Thanksgiving, Donald. Tell me about the Packers. You guys have been awfully good as of late, but what are some of your priorities as you try to beat the Lions today?
You know, our biggest thing is, Pam, is not turn the ball over. You know, right now, that's been our big ticket for success. We haven't turned the ball over, and these guys have been winning games by getting turnovers. So we got to make sure we go out and execute and not turn the ball over today.
Favre to Driver has been a very special combination. Have you figured out the secret to number 4 after 17 years?
No, I'm still trying to work it out. You know, I'm hoping by the time I get 17 in, he'll be done, and I can figure it out after he's done playing.
There you go. Thanks for the smile and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone at home.
Okay, back to you, Joe.
All right, thanks, Pam, and thanks to Donald for stopping by. He'll have some broken blood vessels on his hands before too long with Brett firing him a fastball. But it's going to be Detroit Lions football here at the start of the day, and that means Rod Marinelli will watch what Mike Martz has in store for the Green Bay Packers. And you would think that the running game, while it has not been good the last couple of weeks, to say the least, would have to be at least featured a little more to try and keep that Green Bay offense off the field some.
I think they've got to be a little bit better than what they certainly have shown here in recent weeks, and I know that Mike Martz feels the same way. And getting an opportunity to visit with him yesterday, he would like to run the ball more. I know that that's not something that Mike Martz generally likes to do a lot of, but he knows that he doesn't want to give Brett Favre any more opportunities than he's already going to get.
So the kickoff team dancing around for the Packers. They've been doing that the last couple of weeks. This is a young team, the youngest in the NFL, and they are having fun. Avian Kaysen is waiting deep, and off we go in Detroit from about the 2. Kaysen takes a seat, tripped up, and he falls at the 19-yard line, and that's where Jon Kitna will start for the Lions offensively. Kitna has done that over his last 6 games. Overall, 8th best quarterback rating in the NFL. 13 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, but he threw 3 picks last week in a heartbreaking loss here at home to the Giants.
Yeah, 5 of those interceptions, of which they have lost, and you know, not that all of them were his fault, but he knows that they've got to be better throwing the football today.
Start the day with a run as they did last week, and Kevin Jones goes nowhere, picks up a yard. That is it. Ryan Pickett, who is the guy who stuffs the middle for Green Bay, was there to plug it up for the Packers. 2nd and 9.
Yeah, and Ryan Pickett, I mean, he has had an outstanding year, and you know, when you talk to the Green Bay Packers about what exactly do you expect from that position, you know, one, in the running game, they want a guy who can hold up against double teams. And then in the passing game, they got to get an inside push so that Jon Kitna will not have a place to step up to within the pocket.
2nd down and 9. It's Jones over the left side. Nice run. 1st down Lions. Rouse on the stop after a 13-yard carry, and Ryan Pickett, who we just talked about, is having a tough time getting back up.
Well, Ryan Pickett is right in the middle. You saw him jump there. And then to see what happens as to whether or not he gets rolled up, it's hard to tell exactly what it was, but you know, as I said, he's been such a key guy to this defense, this defensive front in run defense, plugging up things. He'll be missed if he's unable to come back.
Talk about the running game for Detroit. They're tired of hearing about it, but 2 weeks ago at Arizona, minus 18 yards for the game, which was an NFL record. Then last week, 11 carries for 25 yards total against the Giants. So plus 7 yards the last 2 weeks combined. And in Mike Martz's defense, this is not a very good offensive line. They've had trouble out at right tackle. Trying to set up a screen. They do. It's Jones. 1st down for the Lions. 13 yards again. Woodson on the tackle.
You know, I like like what Mike Martz is doing so far in this game. He comes out, runs the ball twice. Now he comes out, get Jon Kitna going with an easy screen pass, and get this defensive line for the Green Bay Packers pursuing sideline to sideline. See if maybe you can't get them running early and try to wear them down a little bit.
The Green Bay defense that starts today 12th best overall in the NFL. Jones carries it, could be a free play for Detroit, and Jones will force his way into Green Bay territory. Picked up 4, but it looks like this one's against the Packers. Scott Green will be talking to us on this Thanksgiving.
All sides, defense, number 77, 5-yard penalty, first down.
You know, I like what Jon Kitna's doing as well. I mean, he comes into this game, he's been sacked 40 times already. They lead the league in most sacks, and so as a quarterback, one of the ways you can maybe neutralize that is use the hard count. Don't allow them as a defensive front to get off on your snap. We saw Ryan Pickett, who jumped a little bit, did not get called for being offside, and then on the last play coming back with the hard count again and getting Green Bay to jump.
First down and 5. Quick snap count. T.J. Duckett picks up 4. Duckett, a guy who hasn't been used all that much. That's only his 15th carry of the season. Last year ended the season with Washington. They made this deal and brought T.J. Duckett to the Redskins. Didn't really use him there after picking him up from Atlanta. And you see what the run game has done under the guidance of Mike Martz, who had the greatest show on turf in St. Louis, but that is a distant memory, both for Mike Martz and for St. Louis. 2nd and 1. Handoff is to Duckett. Impressive drive to start the day, and it's been on the ground for the most part for the Lions.
Yeah, and you kind of get the feeling this crowd really likes what they're seeing with them running the football, and you know that this offensive line does. I've never been around an offensive line that didn't like coming off the ball and smashing people. And when you're always in pass protection, you never then get to deliver the blow. And so for Mike Martz to kind of make a statement here within this offense and say, hey, here's what we're going to do at least early in this game and give you guys a chance to get physical, I like what I'm seeing.
Duckett again, the bigger back of the 2 between he and Kevin Jones, picks up 5. You know, Jon Kitna told us when we talked to him, I get excited every time that little transmitter in my helmet clicks on because I can't wait to hear what Mike Martz is going to call for me to do. This hasn't been that exciting, but it's been awfully effective here with their first possession.
Yeah, and I think that he likes what they're doing right now as well, because that's a quarterback's best friend, being able to run the football and then not get hit so much. And you know, you're right, Joe. He said that every day coming into the complex, he's excited because every day Mike Martz has something new that he's going to get to learn.
Pickett back in the lineup for Green Bay. And the handoff is to Kason, who picks up 3.
You know, in this Green Bay Packer defense, they're pretty good against the run, too. I mean, they come into this game doing a good job. They're in the top 10 in the National Football League as far as stopping the run. They rotate a lot of different guys within that defensive front. They've got to be a little bit surprised. I know that when the Lions played the Washington Redskins, the Redskins did everything they could to try to encourage the Lions to run the football, and they wouldn't do it. And I think sometimes even when you hear, hey, the Lions are going to come in and try to run the football, you don't believe it until you see it, because you know the history of Mike Martz.
3rd and 2. Over the middle, wide open, and there for the catch is the rookie Calvin Johnson. First down, Lions, as Johnson made the catch inside the 15.
They start running the ball the way that they have been able to here on this first possession, and then the linebackers start creeping up a little bit more, and you're able to get some of those throws there in that intermediate area right over the football. Good job by Calvin Johnson working that area. Jon Kitna getting the ball to him. And Calvin Johnson, who's not gotten a lot of playing time in recent weeks, they expect a lot out of him today.
Toss to Kevin Jones. Nothing there, and Nick Barnett, the middle linebacker, was there to make the play for Green Bay. We saw Barnett very early today. I mean, well over an hour before the start of this game, go face to face like WWF style with Dominic Raiola, the center for the Detroit Lions, and those two guys should be meeting up quite a bit as this game wears on. Second down and 8.
That's the same thing that I was thinking when we were watching that happen, Joe, because there's going to be a lot of times as the center, when he's uncovered, as he is here, that he'll have an opportunity to get to that second level.
Duckett down to the 8. Picked up 3. Barnett on the tackle.
You know, Rod Marinelli's got to be the other guy who's really enjoying what he's seeing right now as well. I asked him, you know, it's just kind of strange as a defensive line coach to make the hire with a guy with the reputation of a Mike Martz who likes to throw the ball. And he said, I wanted a guy who was the opposite of me. I didn't want my ego to get into the way of hiring an offensive coordinator. And he said, if it were up to me, I'd probably run quarterback sneak 25 times a game.
Third down and 5. Ketna with time. End zone. McDonald. Not in, but he sets up a 1st and goal from inside the 1. Penalty flag is down on the play as McDonald was stopped.
Personal foul. Shot block. Number 51. 15-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Well, that's Dominic Raiola. And so take away the 1st and goal from just outside the goal line as they get Raiola on a chop block.
There he is right there, 51. You see him, you know, once he's engaged with Steven Peterman as the official saw it. The umpire there had a good look at it. Once you're engaged, then you cannot have another adjoining lineman take a guy down low, which is what Raiola did.
The guy took low. Impressive guys you can meet on any football team. He's got the presence and the study habits of a quarterback, and a guy who had to really study 3 different right tackles for the Detroit Lions preparing for this game. And early here he's working against Jonathan Scott, who's playing with a broken left thumb and a cast on his hand. Campman 3rd in the league with 9 sacks. 3rd down and 20 after the penalty, and Kitna goes down. So a huge penalty on Dominic Raiola, and it's Campman who makes the play.
Now, Campman saw what Michael Strahan was able to do last week with 3 sacks and was excited about coming into this ball game. Now he's working against a different tackle, Jonathan Scott, but he gets Scott pushed back, and then he comes underneath, and that's the move that Aaron Campman likes. Once he can bull rush a guy, and then you get a quarterback stepping up, sometimes you can come underneath that block and then get there for the sack, as he was able to.
47-yard try for Jason Hanson. Good snap, good hold. The kick is perfect. Hanson knows what to do on Thanksgiving. He's been with the Lions in his 16th year. Big penalty on Raiola, however. It's just a 3-point Lions lead. It's not time yet, but you know who you are out there watching on television at Aunt Mary Lou's house, sitting on the couch with the sheet over it, just in case you might get it dirty and you're listening to the game, so you don't have to listen to your relatives. I know who you are. You should feel guilty. Hanson drills it, and Tramon Williams takes it. Had a punt return for a touchdown last week, and he's still going today. He's trying to get every inch. And a 33-yard return by Tramon Williams. Alex Lewis on that tackle. Dominic Raiola frustrated because of that cut block call. How about that bottom line? 42 rushing yards for the Lions in that opening possession, which came close. Settling for 3. Now the 9-1 Green. Stumble trying to get it to the running back by Jared DeVries. Ryan was Brett Favre, who tripped getting away from center.
And we heard Donald Driver with our Pam Oliver say the last thing they could do is turn the ball over. Put the ball in Ryan Grant's stomach. Just basically, well, it looked like he actually was. Initially, I thought that maybe he had flipped it to him, but it was low and went right through then Ryan Grant's pocket.
A defense that leads the league in takeaways, and that was a gift. Takeaway by this Lions defense, and now taking over.
Him up. Sure enough, the right foot came over. And was able could have been able to make the They really like Calvin Johnson. One-on-one like this, he's just got a knack at going after the football. You know, had a chance, it would have been a spectacular catch, but, you know, he's able to go over Jared Bush here. Bush had his arm in there, which may have deflected the ball. But Calvin Johnson, who, as I said a little bit earlier, has not gotten to play a lot here in recent weeks. He had a back injury earlier in the season, and every time it looked like he was getting ready to come back and get more playing time, he had re-aggravated. But he's supposed to be feeling pretty good today.
With the play clock expiring, the pass too high for Johnson. So after getting that gift from Brett Favre on the exchange with Ryan Grant, good work by this Green Bay defense to hold. It's 3 and out and a field goal try.
Yeah, overall, I think the Packers defensively have got to feel pretty good. You know, the penalty there on Raiola kept the Lions from having the ball on the 1-yard line, and then they had to settle for a field goal, and then to give them the short field again and potentially only give up 2 field goals is a nice job on their part.
Now a 41-yard try by Hand. Number 10 on the all-time NFL scoring list, and he adds to his total. 1,618 points in his 16-year career. Almost for the rookie Calvin Johnson. 6-0 Lions. 6:04 left, first quarter. Getting points. Their first. Billy put some big points up. Big penalty on that first possession. Then after getting the ball at the Green Bay 25 on the fumbled exchange, they get another 3 from Hansen, who kicks it away. 6-0, and Corin Robinson takes it. And Corin Robinson will cross the 25. An explanation from Brett Favre, talking about being tripped by Darren Collins. His second crack at it, down by 6. Quick setup and throw, and the pass incomplete. Packers are looking for a flag. They don't get it. Greg Jennings, the intended receiver. Now, Brett Favre, a couple of years ago, as you look at the replay of the incompletion, Troy, there's no doubt that a couple of years ago he was trying to do too much. Favre, he threw 29 picks. Last year 18, this year only 8, and he is, as he said, been less reckless playing here in 2007.
There's no doubt. I mean, he's on pace to throw more passes than he's ever thrown at any time in his career, and yet here he is. He's only thrown 8 interceptions.
Handoff is to Ryan Grant, and this defense flying around first few plays. That's Boss Bailey making it. Strong side linebacker for the Lions, and it brings up 3rd down and 10.
Well, I'll tell you, as Rod Marinelli told us, this defensive front has to be and is the strength of this defensive unit. And so when they're able to get a push and keep people off of the linebackers, as they were able to on that last play, and then Bailey makes the tackle, I mean, that's their job up front, and then getting pressure in these passing situations.
Play clock expiring as Favre gets it away. Pass is high. The catch is made, but short of a first down is James Jones.
It was a pretty good job there by this Detroit Lions defense. You know, Marinelli was a little disappointed in what they had been doing in recent weeks on third down. They have given up a lot of conversions, have allowed teams to maintain possession of the ball. And now on their first possession or second possession after the fumble from Favre, they're able to go 3 and out.
John Ryan hits it. Troy Walters is waiting for it. It checks up, goes backward, and Poppinga taps it for Green Bay. Already the third possession for the Lions, who lead 6-0. They take over at their own 26.
Hello.
Hands out in front. Play action from Kitna over the middle. It's Johnson who was looking to run before he secured the catch. 2nd and 10.
You know, a really nice play here, well designed off play action, and a good route by Calvin Johnson. I mean, he pushes up, he squares it off, he gets into that second window and just took his eyes off the ball there at the last second. You know, John Kitna threw a real good ball here, and you won't see that very often from Calvin Johnson. I know in talking with Mike Martz, he is so impressed with Calvin Johnson that he thinks that he is going to be the best receiver in the National Football League. Believes that he has Randy Moss type talent.
Been slowed down by a low back injury he suffered in week 3 as Kevin Jones carries it for 4. Bring up third down for the Lions. Our Fox Sports poll question at foxsports.com. In your opinion, who will win this year's Galloping Gobbler Award? That's what it looks like on your left. The newly redesigned, reconditioned Galloping Gobbler. Brett Favre, John Kitna, Donald Driver, Calvin Johnson, or other. Keyword Gobbler at foxsports.com. And for more NFL news, go to NFL.com. It's 3rd and 8. Kitna over the middle, hits McDonald, first down Lions. What do you think of John Kitna?
You know, I like him. I think for what they're doing here in Detroit and what he's asked to do, he's doing a heck of a job. You know, I mean, he's a smart player. He fits very well within what Mike Martz's system requires. And that, I mean, it's a volume of plays that they come into each week with. And so you've got to have a guy at that position who, one, is willing to put the time in to really know the offense, and he does that.
Handoff is to Kevin Jones, who bounces it outside. Poppinga's there to try and force him out. Stays in, and he's down inside the 40. It's a different day for this Lions offense in their running game. That was 23 yards.
Now they're able to get a little push here on this left side. And that's why you get the cutback right there from Kevin Jones. Now you're one-on-one, you know, on the outside, and they're unable to contain him. And what I like is the way he finishes this run. You know, a lot of running backs right there would have just gone out of bounds. He plants his foot and tries to come back in.
He's had some foot trouble, foot surgery. Liz Frank sprain, inactive the first 2 games, still not 100%. Duckett in the backfield, he gets it, almost lost it on the handoff. And he barrels his way forward for 8. Kabir Bajab-Biamila downfield to make the stop.
I just think it's pretty interesting right now that this crowd, every time they hand the ball off to Kevin Jones, I mean, they erupt. I mean, you'd think that they're having these 40-yard completions. You know, that's normally what gets the crowd excited. But you know, I know Mike Martz has been heavily criticized here over the last couple of weeks for not running the ball more. But you know, as you said 2 weeks ago, when you have minus 17 yards rushing, it's hard then as a play caller to continue to run the football.
Nice job against a good, deep defensive front for Green Bay. That's tipped and nearly picked. Colin Cole got his hand on it. That's big number 90. And then Bigby and others had a shot.
Sean McHugh at the back end of that, it looked like he was able to get a hand on it and keep it from being intercepted. There you see Cole you know, going up and deflecting the football. Anytime the ball goes up like that, usually it's going to be intercepted, but McHugh does a good. He thought he had the ball in his hand.
Now Jonathan Scott, who's got the broken left thumb, is down. They're looking. He's done a nice job, evidently, at right tackle, getting his second start of the season. They give him a look.
Well, he has gotten some playing time there at the right tackle.
Strahan, 2 of his 3, and down goes Kitna. And Saipaia is right there in the middle of it, the right tackle. It's Campman, his second of the day.
Yeah, well, this is the bull rush here from Aaron Campman. You know, Saipaia comes in. He knows he's got a new guy. He wants to test him out, just tries to go right through him and pushes him right back into John Kitna. And then is able to make the sack. You know, coming into this game, Aaron Campman had gone the last 2 weeks without a sack, which was a big drought for him. It was the longest streak he had gone this season. Well, now he's already gotten 2 sacks today.
That sack pushes the Lions out of the edge of field goal range as Nick Harris tries to knock it down inside the 20. It's returned by Woodson. Has room. Charles Woodson, the far side of the field. And it's a touchdown-saving tackle by Alex Lewis. If Alex Lewis does not make that play, it's a touchdown for Woodson.
Well, it looked like Jared Bush was in position to make the block on Alex Lewis, but he just didn't get turned around and pick him up. I guess he just didn't think that he was going to be in a position to make the tackle. You see Jared Bush right here. He could have gotten back on him, and if he makes that block, it's a touchdown. A good job by Lewis continuing to play and get over there and save a touchdown.
What a good return by Woodson. 34-yard return by Charles Woodson. That's his longest of the year, and he came within 1 tackler of breaking that for a touchdown. Starting at their own 46 with under a minute to play in the first quarter. Nice move by Donald Driver, who picks up 8. And for a report on Jonathan Scott, let's go down to Pam Oliver.
Well, the news isn't good for Jonathan Scott. He had to be helped into the tunnel area. He's gone up to the locker room. He has a hamstring injury, Joe. His return is questionable. Back to you.
You know, it's just a shame because, as you said, Joe, I mean, he's been missing some games because of his broken thumb. He finally gets a chance to get back in there and play, and then only to come out with another injury. I mean, that's hard, continuing to rehab just to try to get back onto the field.
Second down and 2 over the middle, and Driver had, I think it was Kalimba Edwards with his left arm draped all over him. No flag is thrown. It's 3rd and 2.
Yeah, you're right. Kalimba Edwards was all over him. I think Donald Driver was going, man, these linebackers have gotten bigger. Kalimba Edwards, defensive end, primarily a pass rushing specialist, and has really played well for this one.
3rd down and 2. Is juggled and dropped by Corn Robinson.
The one thing you don't see a lot of from the Detroit Lions is matched up man-to-man outside one-on-one, but that's what they showed him there. Fernando Bryant in coverage, and a pretty tough catch there. I mean, obviously a high ball, and when you're running a slant, ready to barrel down.
Repossess. First down as this punt sails into the end zone off the foot. So, and we look ahead. Games. Bring himself to start pedaling. Game on Sunday, Redskins and Bucks, the first place Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the 49ers. The Cardinals are back in the NFC West.
Well, it's the time of year when you get to see really how the playoff situation's shaping up. All these games now as we move through, you always talk get to Thanksgiving and see where you're at, but from that point through the rest of the year, that's when you find out what you're all about.
Last play of the quarter, and it's Kevin Jones over the left side, and it is obvious to all that Mike Martz has it in his mind that he is so good. 6-0 Lions after one. Back after this on Fox. Been able to move the ball 3 times, but have only the 6 points. Play action from Aaron Rouse, the safety, with his second in as many weeks for Green Bay. Each side for the Packers after the Aaron Rouse interception.
Yeah, Aaron Rouse, who has gotten Nick Collins, he just breaks on this very well. You're going to see him right here. I was expecting Calvin to flatten that thing out a little bit and cross route. Just got a great jump on the ball at that point for the interception.
Giving quick setup.
Detroit doesn't play a lot of man-to-man coverage. Jennings is able to get inside of Travis Fisher. And the one thing you know you're going to get when you're playing the Packers, start to the outside and just open the door there for Jennings to run the slant, free release, easy touchdown.
Despite a dominating first quarter by the Lions, the interception thrown by Kitna. First turnover of the day for Detroit. Turn, and then Brett Favre took care of the rest. 20th touch. Out across the 20. Gets out to the 23, and that is all. So here's Detroit with a football yet again. They pretty much dominated the first quarter, and yet 4 seconds of your Thanksgiving was spent on that scoring drive by the Green Bay Packers, and they're leading by 1.
And that's what happens. I mean, now if you're Detroit and you look at the fact that you had the ball down there on the 1-yard line, but because of the penalty on Raiola came back, you settle for the field goal. Then you get the turnover, and then you're not able to get anything done there either. And so you come away with field goals, one play by a Green Bay, and they take the lead. I mean, this is a team that's very opportunistic. Green Bay is.
How are the Lions going to answer? Sticking with the run is Mike Martz, calling for Kevin Jones, who picks up 3.
And I think that, you know, as well as Detroit has run the football, and they certainly are running the ball very well, and that's encouraging, and that's something that they will continue to do. But I think when it's all said and done, Mike Martz knows that this is an offense that has to make plays in the passing game, and it's early. But so far, they just haven't been able to do that. They're just a little out of sync. And they kind of have been out of sync now for the last couple of weeks.
All of us at Fox are in our studio today during our pregame show on this Thanksgiving. 2nd down and 7. Jones carries it again. Kevin Jones gets that last hit from Poppinga, picks up 8, and gets a Lions first down.
You know, this is probably as good as Kevin Jones has looked. I mean, he had the Liz Frank injury last year, and that's a tough one to come back from. We're hearing more and more guys. Deuce Staley, if you remember back a few years ago with the Philadelphia Eagles, he had it. And, you know, trying to come back from that injury is hard, particularly for a runner. And Kevin Jones, they will tell you, he's still not 100%. But, you know, today he's done a heck of a job running the football.
And he gets it again. Trying to bounce it in a nice play by Bigby, who came up from a safety spot. And it's just a run of 2 yards.
The one thing I've always liked about these Green Bay Packer corners, whether it's Charles Woodson or Al Harris, I mean, they're physical. You take that. I mean, you say, well, he can have contact within 5 yards. He got about 1 yard off the line of scrimmage before he was on his back.
That was Mike Furry. These are Green Bay corners that play bump coverage. They're right up on the receivers. Harris across from Roy Williams, and that's where Kitna goes with it. and he and Roy Williams were not on the same page. It's third down.
And the one thing about, Green Bay, and I know those Packer fans out there, they recognize this because Charles Woodson and Al Harris, they get physical, and there's Charles Woodson now. But they're a physical group that play a lot of man-to-man coverage, and so for an offensive system like what Mike Martz likes to run, so much of it is based on timing. And when you disrupt the receiver's timing off the line of scrimmage, then it's hard for the quarterback to know exactly when to turn the ball loose, because so much of him knowing that is based on his footwork. And I think that's what's creating some of the problems here in this first half for Detroit.
Third down and 8. Over the middle, left alone, Cason. And Avian is wrapped up inside the 45 to the 44, a 20-yard completion to the Lions running back.
I had a chance to visit with Mike Martz yesterday, and he thought the one area where they may be able to get a play was down the middle of the field to their running back. But he said that we really don't have a running back in the mode of a Marshall Faulk like what he had in St. Louis. The closest they have is Avian Cason. And so they're able to spread them out, get the safeties out of the middle, and hit a big play.
Duckett right into the middle of the pile, and he picks up one. First guy there was A.J. Hawk. So, and here we go with Raiola and Cullen Jenkins getting into it. Fired up today.
Well, he sure is. He was a storyline coming in based on the interaction with Nick Barnett, and then, of course, the penalty. And there's a shot there at the end of the which Jenkins didn't like, gives him an elbow into the back.
Second down and 9. Kevin Jones to the 40, pushes to the 39. Third down coming up. We showed it to you coming on the air before the game, and this is an hour before the start of the game. Something Vince McMahon would be proud of with Dominic Raiola and Nick Barnett, nose to nose.
Well, Dominic Raiola, not that he ever needs anything to get him going. He's been a good player for this offensive line. He's one of those guys, like a lot of centers in this league, just a great work ethic, plays hard, will scrap, and he's certainly in that mode in this game.
On third down, it's Johnson with a good play by Tramon Williams. He's out there locked up one-on-one with Calvin Johnson, and he made the play. It's fourth down. Let's go for a report on Charles Woodson. Here's Pam.
Yeah, an important member of the defensive secondary and Packer special teams. He's gone back into the locker room, Joe. He's being looked at for a toe injury. His return is questionable. Back to you.
All right, Pam, thank you. And so they check on Charles Woodson, who has been terrific. Tied for 5th in the NFL with his 4 interceptions, doing a good job returning punt. Line drive punt by Harris looked all pretty, but drives right into the end zone. Aaron Campman has been bull rushing all day long. Went right through Saipahia. And John Kitna fighting at his ankles. Frustration after the incompletion. And lead the game 7-6. From their own 20. Favre, a screen. Ryan Grant. Good play. Langston Moore came through the blocking and made the play right at the line of scrimmage, 2nd and 10.
What a great play by Langston Moore as a defensive lineman. Clearly when you've got a screen on, you're hoping that guy will take the bait and rush the passer. And, these guys have gotten so much better at feeling when a lineman is leaving them and knowing when the screen is coming. He almost was able to knock that ball loose.
Well, you figure if there's one area of importance and expertise for Rod Marinelli, the head coach, it's going to be the play of this defensive line. Favre was looking to heave one, and now he slings it for Driver, who gets in behind the defense, makes a play, stays on his feet, gets a vicious hit at the end of it, and it's a 38-yard completion.
And the Packers know that in order to give Favre that kind of time throwing the football, they've got to be able to block Shaun Rogers up front. You're going to see Sean Rogers here, 92, and they put 2 guys on him. And so he's not able to get the push that he would like to, and Favre worked that way, which then afforded him the time, and more importantly, afforded Donald Driver the time to get down the field that far to get the completion.
38 yards from Brett Favre. A blitz coming. Favre in trouble. He gets drilled as he lets it go. It's Sims. Ernie Sims on a blitz, and he got there just ahead of the throw.
Sneaking around the backside. Favre didn't see him start to work that way. Here he is. And then he comes around the backside to Brett. Brett checked him, but he didn't see Ernie Sims coming off the edge. And he gets it out just in time. You know, Ernie Sims, I tell you, he's one of those guys who has played exceptionally well in his second year. I know a lot of people here in Detroit feel that he has had a Pro Bowl season. And as they start to win more and more games and get into the playoffs, he'll start getting the recognition that he deserves.
Out of the shotgun, it's Jones. Found a hole in the defense, survives a hit, and has a first down inside the 25. Kenoy Kennedy popped in first, and Jones somehow stayed on his feet.
That's one thing about these Green Bay Packer receivers. I think that part of playing in Green Bay and being a good receiver for this group is you got to be pretty tough. You know, Donald Driver, I think he sets the tone for this entire group. And James Jones takes a big hit, you know, right along the sideline and just keeps on going. Kenoy Kennedy is known as a pretty big hitter, and he sure laid one on him there.
18-yard completion to Jones. 2 big plays from Favre, and now looking for another, and it's Donald Driver who somehow goes around Alexander, makes the play, and picks up 19 more.
You know, Donald Driver, we've talked about it before, Joe. I mean, just what a dependable guy he is. He's got exceptional hands, the ball thrown up, and then he just concentrates on it as he's juggling it and able to bring it in. You know, you can tell that's good coverage. I mean, if you're Brett Favre, you see that, you say that's good coverage, but he has so much confidence in Driver that he turns it loose anyway.
Good coverage by Keith Smith. Could not make the play on the ball, and Ryan Grant plows in for the touchdown. A 5-yard touchdown run by Ryan Grant after Brett Favre completions of 38, 18, and 19 yards to get him down to the 5.
Well, you get big plays in the passing game and you chew up big chunks, and that's why you're able to come away with touchdowns as opposed to field goals. Pretty good movement there. Corey Hall kicks him out. Paris Lennon opens the lane there inside for Ryan Grant.
And just like that, it's an 8-point lead. 3 good catches for Brett Favre down the field. Driver with a couple, Jones with another. And the rushing touchdown for Green Bay, it belongs to Ryan Grant.
Yesterday at the hotel, what a great lady she seems to be, and doesn't take long to see why Greg Jennings is the player and the person that he's turned out to be either.
Kaysen on the return for Detroit. Has room to run, has the lane, might go. The kicker to beat down the sideline and catching up to him and making the play was Tramon Williams. Mason Crosby slowed him a hair, but Kaysen with a huge return of 74 yards.
Well, you talk about doing something that this team desperately needed to give them some field position. He gets in behind the wedge. They do a good job. You see the lead right there, Langston Moore. Again, a defensive lineman there protecting on the wedge that gets Kaysen inside and then back out to the sideline. What a great job by that unit.
Good hustle by Tramon Williams to go and catch him. He ran him down, saved a touchdown. Kitna to throw. End zone, short and incomplete, nearly picked off by Bush. Calvin Johnson, the intended receiver, and it was not there at all.
No, and that was a ball that Jared Bush, you know, it looked like he very easily could have had an interception. Just not a well-thrown ball by John Kitna at all. I don't know if he was expecting something different from Calvin Johnson. You know, what we've seen is a few plays already that Calvin Johnson has been a part of that haven't turned out too well, whether those were poor routes or Kitna and him not on the same page, whatever it may be. And maybe that explains why Calvin Johnson hasn't played more than what he has up to this point.
Handoff is to Kevin Jones. That's the part of the attack that's been working as Colin Cole makes the play. The running game for Detroit, a gain of 3, and it's 3rd down for the Lions.
Yeah, and I mean, again, to kind of go back to what happened there in that first quarter, you know, when you get opportunities to get the ball theoretically in the red zone because they're not inside the 20-yard line right now, but when you get this close to begin a possession, I mean, you got to be able to come away with touchdowns, and that's really been the difference so far in this game. The Packers have gotten them even though they haven't had many opportunities, and the Lions have not.
Getting up under fire, and down he goes. KGB, the first one there. A loss of 6 and another sack by this Green Bay defensive front. And Kabir Bajia-Biamila is slow to get up.
You know, these guys, Aaron Cameron on the one side, and then you bring in Kabir Bajia-Biamila on the other, and, you know, both of them able to get pressure, and Kitna just not able to avoid it. And on the outside, this time they're looking at Roy Williams, and Al Harris just doing a good job redirecting him and not giving Kitna anywhere to really throw the football.
3 Packer sacks today, and they have 29 and a half. Green Bay defense. KGB gets the latest. They look at him on the field. Field goal try when we come back. 38 saved a touchdown for Green Bay. Tramon Williams on special teams chasing down Kaysen. After the 74-yard return, it's now a 45-yard try by Jason Hansen. He's 3 for 3. But Detroit again held out of the end zone this time. Kaysen on the return. And Tramon Williams just literally running him down.
Well, you just never know, Joe. I mean, on those types of plays, you know, sometimes guys will give half-hearted efforts. You just never really know when a play that you potentially can make is going to be the difference in a ball game. And Tramon Williams, to his credit, he continued to run after him and was able to make the tackle. And, you know, what would appear to be, you know, pretty good field position that they should go then in and score a touchdown. And the defense is able to hold him to a field goal. Nice work.
And Tramon Williams, a guy who on a pooch punt by John Casey last week returned 194 yards for a touchdown. And one other point about the Green Bay defense, Tramon Williams now is going to get a lot more time in the secondary because A, Detroit likes to spread you out. B, Charles Woodson is out with a toe injury, and there have been those who have hoped that he would be taken off the punt return team. He was injured on the punt return. That's the information we're getting. He has not been back since a punt return, and he left with a toe injury, and that is a vital part of the defense for Mike McCarthy and Bob Sanders.
No question. I mean, he has played so well, you know, not just this year, but last year. You know, probably should have been in the Pro Bowl last season. And you know, I think one good thing is Mike McCarthy did tell us last night, I'm going to play more people in the secondary. Tramon Williams is going to get playing time. Of course, Jared Bush. So these guys came into the game expecting to get a lot of playing time.
Against Dallas coming up, the Packers need Charles Woodson healthy. Out across the 25 and knocked down near the 27 is Corin Robinson. And so back to work goes Brett Favre. December 2nd, college football's greatest teams find out who they will play in college football's greatest games. It's a live primetime special that you can only see right here on Fox. The All-State BCS Selection Show Sunday, December 2nd at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. And at the moment, top 5 in the BCS, LSU, Kansas, West Virginia, Missouri, Ohio State. And Kansas and Missouri play at Arrowhead on Saturday night. First down for Green Bay. Out of the backfield, it's Corey Hall. And the fullback picks up 4.
You know, in visiting with Brett Favre yesterday, he was talking about, you know, how much he really enjoys the quick turnaround, playing on Thanksgiving. And one of the reasons why he enjoys it so much is that he said the offensive coordinators can't get too cute with the game plans. You know, we got to go to the basics. We're not going to put in a lot of new exotic things, and we just go play football. And, you know, you think of Brett Favre's career, I mean, that's really when he's been at his best, is when he just does go out and play and not get caught up in a lot of the structure that so many guys do.
Changing it up here on 2nd and 6, and out to the backfield it's Grant, and he is leveled by Sims. What a hit that was. 3rd and 6.
You know, the one thing about these linebackers for Detroit is they're not a real big group. I mean, they're relatively small by NFL standards. I don't think any one of them is over 235 pounds, and you know, but they're physical players still, and more importantly, they run exceptionally well.
On 3rd down, James Jones overthrown, looking for a flag. Does not get it. There is a flag back at the 25-yard line. No flag on the coverage. We'll check the marker.
Offense, number 63. Penalty is declined. 4th down.
That's Scott Wells, the center. And it's 4th down, and that was a good stand there by this Lions defense.
Well, it sure was. I mean, you talk about you know, needing a good defensive series there and not giving up any more points to the Packers, and the Lions able to do that. You know, now it's just a matter of whether or not their offense can get going.
Troy Walters is waiting for the punt. And it's a good one. And John Ryan carries Walters right out of bounds. Former Green Bay Packer great Jim Ringo passed away on Monday, just days short of his 76th birthday. Hall of Fame center, played for the Packers from 1953 to 1963. 7 Pro Bowl selections for Jim Ringo. And a guy who was on the first 2 NFL championship teams. 2 of 5 for Vince Lombardi. And that's right on the heels of his Packer family losing Max McGee in October. Handoff is to Kevin Jones over the left side, and Jones crosses the 20, picks up 4. Rouse on the tackle. Offensive leaders, and it's been a rarity the last few weeks that you highlight what the running backs have done, and already 73 yards on the ground for Kevin Jones.
Yeah, I mean, they have really done a good job running the football, but it kind of goes back to what I like saying, unless those runs are 20-yard runs, you know, just being able to run the football effectively doesn't translate into a lot of points. You've got to be able to create some big plays, and generally that comes in the passing game, and the Lions haven't gotten any of those today.
Getting just 2 for his last 10, and as you saw, Williams has been shut out. Kevin Jones is doing all he can and picks up a 1st down. Barnett on the tackle.
That's good, tough running, too, by Kevin Jones in this offensive line, and you know, I talked about it a little bit earlier, but you know, for an offensive line to be able to come off the ball and get physical with people, that helps you clearly with being able to run the football, but then I think that it also helps you on the back end when you start throwing the football. And, you know, there have been times on the outside where Kitna has gotten some pressure, but I think that this offensive line is at least given a chance to try to wear down this defense, and we'll see if it works in the second half.
Empty backfield behind Kitna, who has time and fires low and out of the reach of McHugh, the tight end. 3rd down. Rather 2nd down after the incompletion, and Barnett was there in coverage.
You know, you asked me a little bit earlier, Joe, about what I thought of John Kitna, and you know, it's interesting because he really feels wanted here. He feels that he's got a head coach that believes in him. He feels also that he's got an offensive coordinator, as we said, Mike Martz, that really believes in him. And for the first time in his career, he doesn't feel like he's just keeping the seat warm for some young quarterback to step in. And you know, I think that's one of the reasons why he's been able to play with such confidence this year.
On 2nd down, they hit Payson out of the backfield. And Troy, true to his word, that's what March told you, and that's been their 2 best plays.
You're exactly right, and the reason for that is because the safeties, you know, for the Packers right here, they like to get outside, and so you see all that room in the middle that then a running back or a tight end can get into. And Avian Kaysen, you know, as good as as good as Kevin Jones has been running the football, he's not this type of receiver. And so you put in Avian Kaysen and allow him to do some of those things and get some of those matchups. And so far it's worked.
Kaysen was with Mike March in St. Louis. The screen, they're having trouble setting it up for Duckett. It's incomplete. And Kitna is down. Jason Hunter gave him a shot, and Kitna, who has been taking hits all year long, is limping after that play.
Well, it came down right on the back of his, the left knee, and you saw that. It's a little why the league doesn't have the horse collar. This isn't a horse collar, but it's the same effect of the horse collar when a defender then lands on the back of an offensive player, and that's exactly what happened to Kitna. And I know these Packers have great respect for Jon Kitna and how tough he has been this year.
Quick throw to Williams, who finally has his first. Will bring up third down after a gain of 7. Al Harris on the coverage, and Williams gets up saying, let's keep it going.
I think that was smart. You see there the number of hits that he has taken, and I thought that was a smart play call there by Mike March, knowing your quarterback's banged up, rather than put him in a 5 or a 7-step drop on that last play. You know, just get the ball from center, come up and throw it quick on the wide receiver screen and get what you can get.
Lions have all 3 of their timeouts remaining as Kitna goes for Johnson, who goes up and can't haul it in. That is a couple of chances today for Calvin Johnson. And again, he goes up, gets his hands on it, and can't bring it in.
Yeah, these are some of the plays that they've been trying to get to Calvin Johnson, because they feel like if they can just get the ball in his vicinity, that he's capable of making a big play. And so they're trying to get the ball to him. One of them was an interception. This one, you know, he's not able to get his hands on. But, you know, so far he's not been able to bring the ball in on some of the chances that he's had.
So now the punt with 2:20 remaining by Nick Harris. And it hops into the end zone. This week, Fox NFL Sunday returns as the guys analyze whether or not the Giants can catch the Cowboys in the NFC East. Plus, they break down the Buccaneers' ascent from worst to first in the NFC South. And Jimmy Johnson will tell you the 5 ways teams can beat the Patriots. The Built Ford Tough Fox NFL Sunday pregame show in HD. This week at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Fox, and there'll be a lot of head coaches tuned into that if old Jimmy's going to figure out 5 ways to beat New England.
Yeah, I think they'd be happy if they could get one from them.
The undefeated 10-0 New England Patriots. Randy Moss, 16 touchdown receptions, already a franchise record. 38 touchdowns from Tom Brady. The NFL record is held by Peyton Manning with his 49. Not a bad deal when the Patriots gave up a 4th-round pick to get Randy Moss. Who's going to slow them down? 2-minute warning here in Detroit. 2nd down and 8 for Green Bay. Blitz coming from Detroit, and it's Jennings making the catch. 1st down Packers out across their own 30. Green Bay with all 3 of their timeouts remaining.
And you see Brett Favre, they just ran what you would call a sugar huddle. It's about 3-4 yards off the line of scrimmage, and they were able to actually make the call in the huddle before going to the line.
That's Ryan Grant out of the backfield. 1st down, and Green Bay will hurry it. A completion of 13 yards. Sims on the tackle, and Favre wants to keep it rolling.
And plenty of time, clearly, because they still have all 3 of their timeouts.
Brett Favre saying his team is playing so well and so loose it makes me nervous. Leading here as we approach halftime, and Jones was left all alone, and the hit forces the incompletion. That was Kenoy Kennedy who came over, and now they're going to say the catch was made. That ball's incomplete.
Yeah, there'll be a Booth challenge on that. A Booth review, because the ball, he didn't look like he ever had it when it got knocked out.
So if there is a review, as Troy said, it'll come out of the booth. And now we'll get it. Packers did all they could to get up the field.
We will review the previous play.
Packers did all they could to get up the field and snap the ball. One of the officials called it incomplete. The other came in and said complete. We'll get another look at it with 58 seconds left. If the catch is secured.
That was such a bang-bang play as to whether or not he actually had it. If he had it, and then obviously if it goes out of bounds because of the hit here, then it will be a completion. But, you know, is the ball stable and secure? I think that's the question. You know, right at the very end, it looked like he may, in fact, have had possession of the ball, you know, with his feet obviously securely in bounds. And then when Kenoy Kennedy came in with his helmet, it looks to me like it's going to be ruled a completion.
So the booth review, and we will get the call ultimately from Scott Green. Lions sideline reacted as Kabir Gbaja-Biamila leaves with an ankle injury. Franchise leader in sacks.
I'll tell you, a lot of guys going down in this game, and you know, it is hard. It's hard on a short week. You know, remember, these guys played on Sunday and didn't get a lot of work here over the last couple of days, but to come back and get your body ready to come back and play 4 days later in a Thursday game is hard. And we've seen a number of guys who have left this game. Kabir Gbaja-Biamila, Charles Woodson, Langston Moore left a little bit earlier.
Meanwhile, you get a look at Mike McCarthy, who has done a sensational job of the way his Packers closed out last year. They won their last 6. They finished 8-8. Now here they are with a record of 9-1 and their best 10-game start since 1962 when they started 10-0 under Lombardi. I really could see this call going either way. And I wouldn't be shocked if they overrule the call on the field, but we'll get it now.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands. The receiver got both feet down with possession of the ball. First down.
So enough possession prior to that hit by Kenoy Kennedy that sent the ball sailing out of bounds, and by a tenth of a second, the Green Bay Packers get that 21-yard completion that sets up a first down. And they'll move the ball back a yard and a half. It's just outside the 35. So for Brett Favre, 152 yards, 1 touchdown, 11 of 17 now. Screen for Grant and brought down from behind. Wrapped up by Paris Lennon, the middle linebacker. Clock continues to run.
Yeah, Brett looked over to the sideline to Mike McCarthy and asked him, do you want me to use one of our timeouts? And he apparently said no, because here they go.
Second down and 1. Quick completion to Donald Driver, and now the Packers will spend their first timeout with 29 seconds left in the half. Let's go down to Pam Oliver.
Joe, adding to what Troy said, for what it's worth, a number of players are getting tape added or getting retaped altogether. Kabir with the ankle, Corey Redding with the ankle, though he went back in. As the game progresses, it could be an interesting situation to keep an eye on with the term. Back to you.
Thank you, Pam. And you look at Brett Favre, who's on the sideline, and certainly at this stage of his career, like an extension of the coaching staff. And I think that we can sense now that he does actually believe that the Green Bay Packers are a good team.
You know, yeah, I mean, finally, you know, last night, yeah, I think we're pretty good, and I think, you know, everybody in the National Football League thinks they're pretty good, and you know, and Brett Favre deserves much of the credit for why they are so good. And you know, you think about how he has held this team together offensively with so many changes on the offensive line, no running game, young running backs, young wide receivers, and he's been patient with them, and now they've raised their level of play to his.
First down from the 19-yard line over the middle. It's Driver. Boy, he is fearless. Sticks his hand out right in the middle of traffic, both hands, makes the catch. Mark Tauscher comes away limping, and Brett Favre will spend the second timeout for the Green Bay Packers. So the second timeout taken by Green Bay. And you know, Brett Favre is one of the most honest players that we talk to away from cameras. And leading into that Week 2 game at the Meadowlands against the Giants, when they just thrashed New York, he honestly said, I don't know how we're going to do anything. Yeah. I mean, I just don't know how we're going to score points or do anything offensively, and now look where they are.
Yeah, and he's been saying that for a good part of the year. And you remember in that game in Week 2 against the Giants, and he was showing so much enthusiasm for the plays that they were able to make. And, you know, I think he really is enjoying it as much as he ever has, because I don't think he or anyone else really expected this team to be where they're at. I mean, how could you? And so the excitement, enthusiasm that he has always shown, I think this year is probably as much fun as he's ever had.
One timeout left for the Packers, who lead it by 5 with 19 seconds to go. End zone are short of it, and the catch is made at about the 2, and Green Bay, ball came out. And now the scramble for the football. That came right at the end of the play. Donald Lee, the tight end. And with the clock continuing to run, Favre finally calls the last timeout with 2 seconds left. But they fought for the football. Detroit initially said they had it. And with that pileup, the Packers couldn't get up and run a play. Didn't take a timeout.
Timeout. Green Bay. This is their third and final timeout.
And now 2 seconds are left.
Well, it's a good thing for Green Bay that they had one timeout left. And you can see what Favre was wanting to do. He really wanted to be able to save that last timeout if he could have clocked the ball and then allowed him the option of running the football or being able to throw the football short of the goal line and score that way. If they didn't make it, then they could burn the last timeout. But because of circumstances there, he was forced to, and now they're going to have to settle for a field goal attempt. And I know that's disappointing to Mike McCarthy. I mean, as well as they move the ball, to have 3 timeouts and then not ever have had the opportunity to get a ball into the end zone, you know, I know it's disappointing to him and to Brett Favre.
20-yard try by Crosby was perfect from this distance during his rookie year. And he stays that way. It's an 8-point game. And that will do it for the first half of play here in Detroit. 17-9, Green Bay with their 9-1 record on top after a half of play on Thanksgiving. Visa halftime show coming up. Kurt, Terry, Howie, and Jimmy, plus the extravaganza with the Goo Goo Dolls right after this from your local Fox station.